What do you guys think is the future of education? See, when people talk about education, automatically they have the assumption that post-secondary school, even before that, elementary school, high school, university, college, that is education. That's not education. That's institutional blueprinting for how you should think, behave, and act. And if we're looking what's happening today in the educational space, and primarily in the United States, and Canada's a little bit different, but still the same. You go into debt for school for the most part. If we look at what's happening in education today, what we are seeing is the erosion of knowledge that you gain from school. Not just knowledge. See, knowledge can be attained for free. You have books, you have YouTube, you have mentorship, you have all these different forms that is absolutely free for the most part to gain knowledge. What school should be two things primarily, and that's it. Number one, the ability to socialize, the ability to understand the dynamics of human beings, to create friendships, etc. And number two, depending on the context of where you are in the world, the ability to thrive in that culture, the ability to thrive in that economy. Now, for the most part, those two things, school is not providing today. Let's talk about the first thing. Let's talk about the socialization, the friendships, the belonging. That has been completely eroded by the wokeness. The Marxist, the leftists, whatever you want to label them, I call them sociopaths, whatever definition you want to give them, they have invaded for the very, very longest time post-secondary education. They're even invading elementary school, which is pretty fucked up shit that I'm seeing. And they're invading and they're poisoning the ideologies of many, many people. I mean, really poisoning young people. And people forget, like, you look at Jonathan Haidt's studies when it comes to the influence of social media on young girls, and it's quite detrimental. And it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that out. But what a lot of people don't talk about is the male psyche. For example, the prefrontal lobe. And it's not 100%, but roughly from the age of 21 to 23, that's when it kind of fully develops. It's interesting because you look at the military, you look at the army, they make it 18 to join. So they know exactly the research when it comes around those things. So what I mean by 21, 23, it takes a while for the prefrontal lobe to develop maturity, develop their own type of individual thinking. And so when you enter uni and college, I'm going to use them interchangeably depending on where you're from. It might mean the same definition, but when you enter college at that young age and you're exposed to these leftist woke ideologies, a lot of people, not everybody, all depends on your background, where you come from, and there's a huge genetic component, but a lot of people are easily swayed into that thinking. Oh, wait a second, I never knew this. Oh, I can be a million genders. Oh, wait a second, capitalism is bad. Oh, wait a second, I need to worry about pronouns. Oh, wait a second, I can't say this. Oh, wait a second, I might offend somebody. And this is what they're teaching in school that you pay for, that you go in, not just you're paying for, you go into debt. So the whole notion of good socialization, of people being free to do what they want and how to think, that's out the window. Number two, let's talk about the necessary skills to survive in where you live. And honestly, these days, it doesn't matter where you live. Well, it does matter. The whole world is the economy. You have access to the internet, boom, you're connected to the global economy, specifically with crypto, right? You don't even have to rely on PayPal and Stripe, etc. You can take payments in crypto and have your own global economy. Now, if you look at the skills necessary to survive, what do they teach you? 95% of people go to school for some Bachelor of Arts, meaning they go to school to do nothing or to become nothing. So that's a majority. And there's a small minority that do very specific stuff, and that's a whole different conversation. So if you want to become a lawyer, well, you're becoming a lawyer and I'm paying you to become a lawyer. If you want to become a doctor, well, you become a doctor. If you want to become an engineer, you become so there's very specific professional lanes, let's say, that the only way to become this certain thing is to take this professional course, usually 8 years for anything. And whether it's a lawyer or a doctor, for the most part, you're in debt a shit ton of money. But for the most part, when you graduate, people will hire you, right? And this is the small minority, maybe 5%. I don't know 100% for the statistics, but 5% of people, let's say, roughly speaking, decide to become the professional lane. Then we have the majority of everybody else who are in the bachelor of whatever. I'm going to take a minor in English crap, and I'm going to take a major in history, blah, 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 blah. And I'm not saying these things aren't good to learn. I'm a history buff. I love history. You know, I'm a mythology buff. I'm a psychology buff. But guess how much it costs me to learn this stuff? Nothing. I buy the book, I learn it. I take online courses for free, I learn it. I listen to lectures and courses from teachers for free. Everything's online. I don't need to pay for this stuff. So they take this information, like I said, it's not bad, but how do you apply this to the real world? How do you apply this to making money? Oh, not everything's about me. No, I'm sorry. Your life is about making money, and not in like, oh, all you got to care about is money. But if you look at, for example, divorce rates, if you look at stress in relationships, if you look at individual stress, and this goes into Maslow hierarchy needs, and Harvard. Harvard did a study on the happiness score. At least this is for North America. You can calculate different inflation rates for where you are, but roughly speaking, people are highly stressed who are making under 80K in North America. Obviously, this is depending on where you live. Toronto making 80K is might as well be making 40K because of the cost of living. But let's say I'm living in a small place outside in Nevada for 80K. Man, that's fucking good living, man. So Harvard did a study for the happiness score when it comes to what is the certain level of income to A, guarantee that you have shelter over your head, B, guaranteed that you have food on the table, and C, have money left over for investments and have money left over for entertainment, whether that's experience, etc. So $80,000 American was the number that they found, and anything above that didn't really move the needle for happiness. But if we look at statistics, there's very, very, very few people who are even making that 80 to 100K, unless you're in the tech industry, but that's a whole different little bubble by itself, and I don't include that in the Rubicon, in the global economy of all different trades. And so, yeah, when I talk about money, I'm talking about it is your number one goal to make as much money as possible. Why? I just mentioned one thing. Happiness level. There's a baseline happiness level that money gives you. Number two, if you're making a lot of money, you're really good at what you do. See, it's funny how people don't equate those two. When people, money is the root of all evil. No, money is not the root of all evil. I always find it funny when people say, well, money makes people pricks. No, it doesn't. Money's an amplifier. If you're a really awesome guy, money amplifies that, and you're fucking super awesome. If you're a douchebag, money amplifies your douchebaggery. Money doesn't change you. Money amplifies who you are already. And so if you're making good money, hopefully being an entrepreneur, if you're making good money, that is the marketplace rewarding for the value that you're providing. And a lot of people have a disconnection there. They have a cognitive dissonance where they associate making money is bad. It's not. You've been brainwashed, and usually by your parents and society and probably your leftist fucking teachers, the money's bad. No. Money is fucking amazing. A, it provides a baseline of happiness, and B, it indicates a value that you're bringing to society. Two things I mentioned: the socialization of you being you expressing who you want to be without anybody impeding on your philosophies and your ideology. That's out the window when it comes to school. And two, real skills for earning fucking money. School does not teach this. And now let's get to the big fucking whale in the room, or the elephant in the room, is a cost. What's more insane, same in Canada, you cannot claim bankruptcy on your student loans. You can claim bankruptcy on anything else, but you cannot claim bankruptcy on your student loans. What kind of investment in the world? Listen, if I invest in a stock, if I invest almost in anything else, I can take that as a capital loss against my taxes in the future. I can write it off that this was a fucking horrible investment. I can put it towards any gains I make in the future. No, not with school. School has the school institutions, the institutional players. The whole ecosystem as a whole has zero repercussions, has zero skin in the game. They can jack up rates as much as they want without any negativity because they're the only players in the game. Well, guess what? They're not the only players anymore. Many companies are waking up and realizing, wait a second, and I've had this my own experience in my companies trying to hire people for marketing positions outside of university. I won't name the university in Toronto, and there's a fucking joke what they teach them for $45,000 tuition. A joke. And I can teach, I can teach a 17-year-old fresh out of high school better marketing skills than what you learned 4 years in a digital marketing degree from a university. That's the fucking truth. And so these universities are scamming your kids. They're scamming you. You're not learning anything. I mean, go to your Bachelor of Arts, take your stupid little degrees, go into debt $200,000, $300,000 for what? For what? You have zero skills. You're unemployable. They've brainwashed you with woke culture. So what kind of future is this? So if you have young kids right now, are you really considering sending them to school? And what I mean by school is, like, I have a young daughter now, baby, right? 7, 8 weeks. She's not going to any public schools. She's not even going to go to many private schools. Like a lot of these private schools too, even some Montessori's, they've been infiltrated by this whole woke ideology and brainwashing. It's almost like every crevice of society is getting brainwashed. And it's not the normal. People say, oh, people need this public education. No, it's not. It's never been the norm. The norm has been for kids to spend more time with their parents, boys to spend more time with their fathers, and it's the opposite today, right? Boys, young boys, if you look at the teachers, if you look at the demographics, is 80% female. Little boys who start elementary school all the way to high school spend the majority of time with women. It's not good for their sight. I'm not saying it's bad to spend time with women, obviously not. But what I'm saying, there has to be a balanced ratio. Boys need to have father figures in their life to understand the male psyche, to understand responsibility, to understand life is not a fucking bubble, and your little tears aren't here to be protected for the rest of your life. Life is tough, and you need to build a necessary psyche, the characteristics to survive, to thrive in the society that we have. And so you need to start, if you're in that position of parenthood, as I am, I'm already trying to plan this out in the future. What, are you really serious about sending your kids to something, unless, like I mentioned, and obviously you can't force your kids. I hate people trying to force your kids. There's no forcing. That's not good. That's against human psych. The best you can do is there to support them and give them the necessary proper tools. Don't give a man a fish, teach a man how to fish. Instead, over here, we're giving everybody a fish, giving everybody paychecks, giving everybody trophies in school. No wonder people are weak. Oh, don't worry, we'll solve everything for you. 1984, George Orwell. And I want to kind of wrap up this video. I think it's a real good question to ask yourself. Maybe you're in this position with your kids, or maybe your kids are asking you. A real good position to ask yourself: is school worth it anymore? And remember, I said school there, I didn't say education. Is school worth it? Is school worth it anymore? And in my opinion, it's not. And this is why we're seeing a massive increase in homeschooling association. And people have a misconception of homeschooling. They believe it's just the parents. No, it's not. I'll give you a general idea of how you can do homeschooling. For example, one method of homeschooling that I really like. You have a group of other parents who have like-minded interests as you, who think like you. You guys come together. You guys pool your money, no different than if you give your money for tuition. You pool your money together, and now you have a good pool of funds, and you can hire the fucking best mentors and teachers possible for certain for whatever you want to hire them, and the kids can rotate from house to house, or you guys can rent out venues. It's a small set of kids, like 10, great class size, 6 to 10, and they have the best mentors and teachers possible because the pooled money that you guys bring together, you guys can hire the best. And so there's a whole misconception. There's like a war on homeschooling. In some countries, homeschooling is illegal. Think about that. Think about that for a second. It's illegal to homeschool your kids. You should only be schooled by the government. Need I say more? All right, guys. I'll finish off at this. We're in a serious situation when it comes to education. Really rethink this, and do not, if you're in the position of your kids going off to post-secondary, rethink this. There's so many other options. Trades, for example. I used to have construction companies here. I worked at Local 353, the electrical union over here. I did some electrical contracting on the side. Trades. You get paid to work. Highly in demand. and we're losing talent, and we need a good electrician can make, if they run their own business, easily $500,000, no question to ask. HVAC, $500,000. Any of these trades, if you run your own small business, no fucking questions, you can make $500,000 a year. We need tradespeople. We need farmers. Farmers are even more demand than trades, and I'll group them in the same thing, but they're even more kind of niche trades. I mean, farming. Become a farmer. I'm saying farming is a new oil. It's a fucking gold mine. I'm investing in some biodynamic farms around Ontario, but there's so many other things to do than just send your kids to brainwash stations, to go in debt $100,000, to get manipulated by woke culture, and to learn absolutely nothing. All right, guys, leave it at that. Peace out.